Well. Manchester City, man. Manchester City. They're at it again. Ladies and gentlemen, David Ornstein has confirmed Antoine Semenyo's preference is to join Manchester City in January. Nothing formal. It's not a fully done deal yet. There's still, a couple details to sort out, but nothing formal until the market opens. But the Bournemouth attacker has favored Manchester City. United have pushed hard, but they never planned to use the 25-year-old at wing-back because so many people were talking about that. But the winter switch was always going to be tough for them. Guys, the pull that Manchester City have, they could be in the worst form. They can be, decent. They could be competing for titles. Whatever spectrum you'd want to view it as long as Pep Guardiola is at the club, as long as he's still their manager, their pull is going to be top. You cannot count them out of anything, not even the title race, transfer windows, whatever. You cannot count them out. As long as Pep is still there, you can't doubt them whatsoever. We saw it last window. They spent over £200 million on 4 or 5 different players. Marmoush, Kusanov, Nico Gonzalez, and they're going to do it again this window too. And the fact that they're locking down a player like Semenyo before the window has even begun is insane. And let's be honest, right, guys? Let's be honest. City, to everyone's surprise, nobody expected them to be this good. Nobody expected them to be this good considering, there's so much change in the squad, so many new players in the squad. Nobody really considered them to be title favorites. Everyone's looking at Liverpool. Everyone's looking at Arsenal. I know Arsenal's still up there. I'm going to be honest because I counted City out. I did not think they were going to be in the title race. I said they're going to scrape top 4. I didn't think they were going to be this good considering, the players they brought in, the new squad, the change, the transitions, etc. Guys, the fact that they're up there still, it's scary, man. It's scary. Of course, it's only when Arsenal are at the top of the table. And now when you just look at City's squad on paper, you look at their attack on paper, Haaland, Foden, Doku, Cherki, Marmoush, Semenyo. Actually, never mind. Put Semenyo in the back. Adding Semenyo to that list, adding Semenyo to the plethora of players that they have up front is remarkable. It's genuinely remarkable. And I think the biggest question around, the news around Semenyo joining City is, did he choose the right club? Has he chosen a club where he's going to succeed the most, where he's going to play his best football, where he's going to play loads of games? If I was Semenyo and I was receiving a call from Ruben Amorim, from Enzo Maresca, from Pep Guardiola, and Arne Slot, guys, there's only one phone call I'm picking up, and that's not Ruben Amorim. If Pep Guardiola calls your phone, you better pick up. You better be on the next flight out. If Pep Guardiola rings your line, direct call, and you send them to voicemail, it's disgraceful, man. That is disgraceful. City could be in financial turmoil. City could be in the worst form of their life. Pep, could be sacked the next day. If Pep Guardiola calls your phone, you're still going to pick up because that's Pep Guardiola. You have to pick up. That is the greatest manager of all time. And as a player, if you want success, you have to go to Manchester City. Out of all the clubs I listed, Man City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, the club that will probably get you the most trophies now is Manchester City. It's a no-brainer. So from that standpoint, it does make sense. It absolutely does make sense, considering also the players that he'll be playing with at Manchester City. But in terms of his profile as a player, in terms of, his traits, his qualities, do I think that he fits Manchester City? Do I think he fits, those molds of players? No, I don't. In fact, I actually argue that he fits more of Chelsea, more of Liverpool's style of play. He's a transition demon, he's someone that has so much pace and power to his game. Chelsea, they need a left winger desperately. And at Liverpool, with Salah on the decline, potentially his last season at Liverpool, and with Gakpo in and out of the squad, I think there's a case to be made that Semenyo would fit that Liverpool team under Slot. And as for United, I know that the reports say that they're not going to use him as a wing back, but you never know. Honestly, United, I never really pictured him there. I don't know if he can play that number 10 role. He's used to being more out wide. United, honestly, I don't really picture him there, I'll be honest. The team that I will say that I am surprised that didn't move in for Semenyo was Arsenal. I actually think that Semenyo, since Arsenal actually do need a bona fide left winger. I know Trossard and Martinelli are currently in and out of the squad, but in terms of having that ruthless demon on the left side, Semenyo would be quality for Arsenal. I know they splurged in the summer. They spent so much in the summer. And actually, when you take a look at Arsenal's depth, it is still quite a lot. You still have Dauman, you still have Wanyeri, young players that are up and coming. So Semenyo, from a financial point, doesn't really make too much sense for Arsenal, even though I do think that he would be a solid fit for that team. And I guess the same could be said about Liverpool since they also splurged in the summer. So just from process of elimination, the only 2 teams that he really had a choice of was Chelsea and Manchester City. And I was actually very surprised when I saw the report that Chelsea had dropped out of the race. So it kind of just made it very easy for Semenyo to choose City. I think his destination was kind of chosen for him in that regard. And I think another big question is how Pep is going to use him. He obviously chose City for success. He chose City because of Guardiola. He chose City because he's more likely to win trophies, to play better football potentially. We'll see about that. The real question is, how will Pep use him? Will he be reprogrammed? Will he be used differently? Will we see another version of Marmoush and Grealish, in Semenyo, in terms of, they were brought in for such a high fee, but they end up just being clogs in the system, like Mahrez as well. So you can look at it from that point, and then there's also the other point of, I actually do think that Pep is starting to change his style of football. I think he is, because I think adding Semenyo to the list of, attacking options, like I said before, because him being at City adds to their list of ways that they can score and just kill teams. You can tell that Pep really needs this type of player. When you look at their attacking options, you have Doku, 1v1 threat, direct winger, pacing behind. He's a decent ball carrier too. Semenyo, a transition demon. He has pace, he has power. You saw what he did to Liverpool. You saw what he's done to many teams in the Premier League this season. Can just absolutely kill you out of nowhere. And adding him next to the best transition centre forward we have ever seen in our lives, in Erling Haaland, that could be dangerous. Then you look at the other side, you have Cherki and Foden, the duo that everyone's talking about in the Premier League at the moment, how technically gifted they are, the flair, the quality that they have in front of goal in terms of creating chances. So I do think that, yes, if Pep ultimately moves to that style of play now, to that style of football now, to accommodate to the player qualities and profiles that he has, then Semenyo's going to be a success. 100% he's going to be a success. Because I don't think he's really the type of guy to keep possession. He's not like a Bernardo Silva type of attacker where he's like very, cute on the ball, can keep the ball very well, can dribble in tight spaces. I think he's really just pace, power, on the transition, on the break. He can kill defenders. He can absolutely kill defenders. Like I said, I don't want Semenyo to go to City and be another Grealish and Marmoush. You take a look at Marmoush. He signed for 75 million last January. And look at him now. He's a squad player. He doesn't get game time. Last 10 minutes of the game, maybe. And people were saying, how he's going to compete with Haaland. Erling Haaland. Come on, man. Those guys had a lot of potential. And honestly, in my eyes, I think they're wasted potential. They're bought for so much money. And now they're just rotting on the bench or they've moved on. Like, take a look at Grealish at Everton, for example. Clogs in the system. That's probably the best definition I can give these type of players. They weren't able to fulfill their true ability at Manchester City. So it's going to be interesting to see how Pep uses them in the City side. But honestly, I think this transfer just speaks volumes. I think it really does speak volumes to what City's ambitions are in terms of silverware this season. As you guys know, they're hunting down Arsenal, by the day, every single day. I'm sure Arsenal fans, including myself, look at that table. Look at that table. When they see City in number 2, fear. It's fear. I don't care if Arsenal have one of the best squads in Europe. I don't care if Arsenal are on like some 10-game winning streak. Because as soon as you believe there's hope of getting that silverware in the very end, you take a look behind you. Look who's sniffing. It's the shark from Jaws, man. It's Manchester City. So yeah, like I said, this transfer isn't complete. It isn't fully done. It's honestly good as done, though. When Ornstein and Fabrizio tweet about it, when they, break the news to everyone that the deal is going to be advanced and completed in the next coming days. It's good as done, guys. It's good as done. Let's call it what it is. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Will Semenyo succeed at Manchester City? Has he made the right move for 65 million? Let me know. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.